How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On the Ball and welcome back to Premier League predictions. It's been a long time. The international break is over. We're going to get into some Premier League action. At the moment is 167 to 167, all square. And the way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And at the end of the episode, we pick a star man. And once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. It's 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's get into the weekend's predictions, starting off with a big one at the Etihad, Manchester City against Liverpool. Sim, 1-1.
Yeah, gone for 1-1. I think Man City, the way they play nowadays, they play with a lot more control. And it's a lot less like open games, I find, where Man City are playing. Obviously, they still try and win the game. They go forward. But you saw them against Arsenal. Very cagey affair, wasn't it? Not many openings. You would expect that to be a very open game. And maybe... I know how Liverpool like to play, but I also feel like Liverpool this season, they're not as good defensively as Man City, but also with Szoboszlai and McAllister and maybe Gravenberch in the centre, they also like to maybe play with a lot more control. It's a lot less rock and roll. So I feel like it's going to be a bit more cagey, but I still expect a really entertaining game, but I've gone for 1-1.
Yeah, you kind of say cagey. They did draw with Chelsea 4-4 in their last game, Man City. Whenever these two teams come up against each other, it seems to be an amazing game of football. A lot of goals scored at both ends as well. And this is a proper top-of-the-table clash like it was a couple of years ago, to be honest, with Man City, Liverpool. And I can't really split the teams. I think if this was in the second half of the season, I might have sided with a Man City win. But just because historically over the past couple of years, they have taken a while to get into seasons and maybe gone on that run in the second half of the season, I do envisage that happening again, and Liverpool playing very well at the moment as well. So I think it's going to be a really good game of football with a lot of goals. So I've gone for 2-2 at the Etihad. Next up is Burnley against West Ham. Sim's gone for 2-0 to West Ham. I've gone for 2-1 to West Ham. They do seem to be conceding quite a lot of goals, to be honest. I know Burnley are without their striker as well, and they are struggling for goals, but I just feel like an off-form West Ham will concede here, but I think they'll just have enough in the tank to win this game as favourites. So I've gone for 2-1 to West Ham.
Yeah, obviously West Ham also missing Bowen, most probably missing Antonio, so a couple of attacking players, one of their main attacking players in Bowen going to be missing out. But I still look at their front line with the likes of Paquetá, Souček, Benrahma, Ings, Kudus. I still think they can have more than enough talent up front to really break through this Burnley backline. I envisage Burnley again dominating possession, but I just struggle to, especially without Foster Foster. I really see them struggling to score here, and I think West Ham. I know they haven't had the best season defensively, but I still see them keeping a clean sheet. So gone for 2-0 here.
Next up is Luton against Crystal Palace. Both have gone through the exact same scoreline here in 1-1. Why are you thinking 1-1?
Yeah, Luton are quite hard to beat at home. I don't think they've lost by more than a goal. I think they've only lost once by more than a goal at home this season. So I do expect it to be quite tight. It's a small pitch at Luton. Obviously,
they haven't at all.
They haven't at all. So they're very hard to play against. Eze and Olise are back in contention for Palace. So that should give them extra something. But I think them having this game as their first game back together, I see them finding it very difficult maybe to get back into their rhythm immediately, albeit I do see them getting a goal, but I think Luton will be well worth a point. So I've gone 1-1 here.
Yeah, I think they are fairly resolute at home. You're absolutely right, Luton, and this is why I've gone for the 1-1 draw. Palace have not kind of impressed me at all in the recent weeks, but they do have some of their star names back with Eze and Olise, so that will definitely play into their hands. But I think just the way that Luton set up at home, the way they play their football, they haven't won a game at home yet this season, which is something to be said. But with 2 draws, 3 losses, they have had fairly hard games at Kenilworth Road this year. They've drawn to Luton, narrowly lost to 10-man Tottenham. They did lose to Burnley, which was probably a kick in the teeth to them. And they've drawn to Wolves and lost to West Ham. So they have had fairly hard games, Burnley game aside. So this is another hard game, but I feel like Palace are always much stronger at Selhurst Park, and I think Luton will kind of dig deep and get the point on the board here. So 1-1. Next up is Newcastle against Chelsea in a really good game at St James's Park. 3 o'clock kickoff. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Newcastle. I've gone for 1-1. I feel like with Chelsea, whenever they're playing against the big teams this year. They've really put in a performance, and I don't think they've lost yet to one of the big teams. They've drawn with Liverpool, they've beaten Spurs, they've drawn with Arsenal. So they've had some really good results against the big teams. It's mainly the kind of teams where you expect them to beat, maybe. They've come unstuck this season, Chelsea. And having said that, at St James's Park, Newcastle will make it hard for them, but Newcastle have so many injuries at the moment, and it's making it hard for them to get consistent results, to be honest. So I think a draw is going to be a fair result in this one.
Yeah, I've gone for Newcastle to sneak it 2-1. I think Chelsea, you're right, have been very good against the bigger teams, albeit they did lose at home to Aston Villa. I feel like a Newcastle team who are maybe a bit more pragmatic than some of the other bigger teams. I'm not saying they're a pragmatic side. They're an aggressive side. They like to press high, but they're a lot more defensively kind of focused, I feel like, than some of the other bigger teams, albeit they're still an offensive team. But I think that could make it hard for Chelsea. We saw how they managed to stifle Arsenal when they came to St James's Park, very much with an aggressive style. And I feel like they might be able to bully Chelsea here a bit at home. Isaac is back in contention as well. That's a massive plus for Newcastle. I think if Isaac wasn't fit, I'd probably go for maybe even a Chelsea win, but I think he really, him being available swings it in Newcastle's favour a bit. So I've just gone for them at St James's Park because they're a home advantage, gone for them to sneak it 2-1 at home to Chelsea, albeit I do see Chelsea having quite a bit of joy as well.
Next up, we're going to go to the City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest against Brighton. Both of us gone for draws here. I've gone for 1-1. Tim's gone for 2-2 here.
Yeah, I've gone for a bit of an open game. I don't think Brighton know how to defend, how to have a tight game. So I think that they're going to dominate possession. But Forest have shown to be very good on the counter-attack. They like playing against teams like Brighton who give them space. I think defensively they're fairly sound as well. Albeit their last 5 games, they've only won 1 game, but I still see Forest giving Brighton a lot of trouble, albeit Albioni is out, which is a massive blow for Forest. He's their main attacking threat. He's been their main source of goals ever since he's been starting games regularly. So he's going to be a big doubt, but I think they've got other avenues of attack. Brighton, I think, are no win in 7, really struggling for form and confidence in the league, albeit Europa League's going a bit different. But I just think away at Forest, especially being away from home, again, I see them dominating possession, but I just feel like they lack a bit of bite at the moment to make it pay. So I've just gone for 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, Forest at home, they haven't lost a home game all season, I don't think. Nottingham Forest, with the last time out, a really impressive victory against Aston Villa. Brighton, like you say, I mean, they're on just dreadful form at the moment. Their defence, they just can't seem to keep a clean sheet for love nor money. I think the last time that they did win was at the end of September, which is crazy to think about with the start of the season that they did have. So having said that, I think Nottingham Forest will have enough just to stifle Brighton a little bit. Albioni is going to be a massive miss for Forest, but I do think that at home with the crowd behind them, they can sneak a result here in terms of a draw. Brighton need to get back to winning ways at some point, though. It's been so long since they've won a game. So I do have a sneaky feeling Brighton could nick this one, but I've gone on the safe side and I've gone for 1-1 here at the City Ground. Next up is Sheffield United against Bournemouth. Gone for opposing victories here. Sim's gone for 1-0 to Sheffield United. I've gone for 2-1 to Bournemouth. I think both these teams have kind of turned it around slightly of late, but I have been more impressed with the way maybe Bournemouth play their stuff as opposed to Sheffield United. I do think Sheffield United will set up to frustrate Bournemouth. Bournemouth will be the ones to ask to have the possession and really go and attack Sheffield United. And I think they have some players of quality that can really hurt Sheffield United, like Dominic Solanke, Semenyo, and a few others as well too. But I think that it will be a very tight game. I think Bournemouth will just do enough just to win.
Yeah, I've gone for Sheffield United to win 1-0. I agree with you. I've been a bit more impressed with Bournemouth. I think home advantage is going to be vital in this game. And I feel like if Sheffield United kind of clog up the game and make sure that Bournemouth aren't really affecting their game with their pressing game and just go long constantly, I think they should have joy going the other way, because Bournemouth leave themselves quite open. They can be quite naive at times, and they're going to try and win the game. I think both teams know how important this is. A bit of a 6-pointer here. Both teams know how important this game is, but I think just looking at the game at home for Sheffield United, I think it might just suit them and it might give them that advantage, the way they like to set up defensively. So I've gone to scrape it 1-0.
All right, moving on to Brentford against Arsenal. Sim's gone for 1-1. He's gone for Brentford to nick a point of Arsenal.
Yeah, I haven't been too impressed with Arsenal away from home this season in some of their performances. I think results-wise, they've been pretty okay. But I feel like they've just been a bit out of sorts and away to a Brentford team who are in fairly decent. Well, they were in decent form, but recently, the last 5 games now, they've only won 1. But at home, they're always a tough team to play against. Brian Mbeumo on the counter-attack is someone who always gives even the best teams trouble, and I can see them making it very difficult for Arsenal. And I just haven't been too impressed with Arsenal away from home so far, but I still think they'll be good enough for a point. So I've gone for 1-1 here.
Yeah, I've gone for Arsenal just to nick this one 1-0. Brentford's form has improved of late, but I think at the start of the season, Arsenal, I think for the first 4 games of this away for the season, they won 1-0 or 4-0 and didn't concede. They have struggled lately away from home and have conceded, I think, 4 goals so far away. But I think here at the Brentford Community Stadium, I just think Arsenal are just going to have the edge on them, unfortunately, and they are the better side. They are looks like they're going to go for the title this year or be in the title race this season. And Brentford have just been really up and down, to be honest, this season. Look, they have got a few good results of late, but I feel like whenever these two teams face each other, Arsenal seem to come out on the better side. And away from home, you say you've not been impressed, but I have been fairly impressed, to be honest, with Arsenal and the way they keep it so tight and don't concede that many chances. So I've gone for 1-0 to Arsenal here at the Brentford Community Stadium, but I prefer you to get the 5 points for this one. Let's move on to Tottenham against Aston Villa. Sim's gone for 2-2. I've gone for 2-1 to Spurs. I've not been impressed with Villa away from home this season. And I think that last time out against Nottingham Forest, they were really bad. But when it comes to the big games, I think they are going to come out and try and put on a performance. And I think when they have played good teams this season, they have put in good performances. And I do expect them to be much better in this game than they were in that Nottingham Forest game. But having said that, Spurs at home, which we've been really good at this season, I think we can just about get the 3 points on board. I think we got enough firepower to hurt that Villa backline. I am worried about our backline with the likes of Romero and Van de Ven out. But maybe it is a little bit biased, but I'm just going for Spurs to nick it here.
I can't see Villa not taking advantage of our backline, to be honest. I know the way we're set up, hopefully we'll keep possession a lot more and keep Villa away from our goal. But I think Watkins, Diaby, even Leon Bailey, if he comes off the bench, I just can't see them not getting a bit of joy in behind, and that's what I'm struggling with. Also, on the ball, without Maddison, do we have that player who can control the game, play through the lines? We're going to have to change things up to how we played against Wolves for sure to convince me. But I do believe the way we play on the ball should be enough to, Villa haven't been very good defensively away from home. And I feel like they play quite an aggressive high line. And I feel like we should be able to exploit that as well. So I do see quite an entertaining open game, but I just don't see Tottenham stopping Villa. So I've gone for 2-2.
Next up is Everton at Manchester United. Sim's gone for 1-0 to Everton here.
Yeah, I think without those that points deduction, I might have gone for United to get something, but I just think the whole place is going to rally around Everton.
Playing on the emotion.
100%. I think football, that's a big part of football, 100%. And I've seen the Everton fans already handing out Premier League is corrupt stickers and stuff like that, or signs, and everyone's going to be holding them up. There's going to be an atmosphere of like defiance at Goodison Park for sure. Man United as well, when the going gets tough, they usually get going. So I feel like they're going to buckle under the Everton pressure. They're going to be super aggressive. So I feel like it should be a bit of an occasion at Goodison Park. But so I've gone for 1-0 Everton.
Yeah, I've gone for 2-1 to Everton. I agree. I think the atmosphere is going to pull the Everton players through in this game. I think the Everton fans are going to be bang up for it. I think the players will be up for it. Sean Dyche will be setting in that kind of siege mentality within the squad after everything that happened. 10-point deduction and now joint bottom of the table. Man United, they are the form team in the Premier League, but their performances don't really suggest that. They've just been about getting over the line, and I've said it time and time again, specifically on this channel, that whenever Man United come up against any sort of quality, they buckle, like you just said, and I think Everton are going to show a bit of quality this weekend. Abdoulaye Doucouré is going to be in the thick of things, potentially Calvert-Lewin if he's fit as well, because he did go off early in the last game. But I do think Man United can get a goal in this game. The way I envisage it going, I can see Everton maybe going 2 goals up quite early and then kind of sitting back on it, and Man U maybe getting a late goal as a consolation or something like that. So I've gone for 2-1 to Everton. Next, and also, by the way, I don't know if you heard, they're actually planning on setting a plane to go over the Etihad before the Man City and Liverpool game, because they wanted to put one over Goodison, but it's going to be too dark, so it wouldn't be seen.
Oh, I
so
see.
they're putting it over the Man City Liverpool game, so it'll have maximum eyes on it.
What's he going to say?
Something about the Premier League being not very good, let's say.
Yeah, I feel for them, to be fair. I feel for them. So I do expect it to be a very good atmosphere.
Fulham, Wolves up next. Both have to go on the exact same scoreline here. I think both these teams are going to cancel each other out a little bit. 1-1. I think Fulham, look, as much as they haven't been that good this season, they have been fairly hard to beat in certain games. And Wolves, I've been really impressed with the way Wolves have played so far this season, but they can't seem to get consistent results on the board. So I think both these teams could potentially cancel each other out.
Yeah, I think if Pedro Neto's still out, I do see Wolves, like even against Spurs, look, don't get me wrong, they played well, but they did seem to lack that bit of quality in the final third up until, obviously, they got the 2 late goals. But that can happen sometimes. I don't think that was maybe representative of the whole game in terms of how the quality they were showing. I do think Fulham will be able to stifle them if Neto isn't available, albeit Fulham on their front are struggling in front of goal as well. But maybe they can get a bit of luck, especially in the home crowd. But even if they get a draw, is it enough to convince me they're going to be able to stay away from the relegation battle? Because at the moment they're sinking a bit, Fulham, and they need to get some sort of win from somewhere to turn it around. And I don't see them getting it here. I see them putting up a bit of a fight, getting the 1-1 draw, but it's still not convincing for me.
Yeah, to be fair, they are like 7 points above the relegation zone, to be honest. So it's not too bad for Fulham. Wolves, on the other hand, they're only 3 points apart in the table, these two teams. So I see it being a really tight encounter and not being able to split the spoils. So let's move on to the star men. Quite a hard one to pick this week. Sim's gone for Morgan Gibbs-White for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of space to operate for Brighton. I think on the counter, he's their biggest threat as well. So I just think I really think he's going to get a goal or an assist in this game. And I think he's playing well. Maybe not having the bet of as good a season he did last season, but I still think he's a really good player. And I think a team like Brighton is a team he could really thrive against. So I've gone for Gibbs-White.
Yeah, I do feel like with Morgan Gibbs-White, like the majority of the play does go through him. So I think it's a fairly good pick, to be honest. I've gone for Mohamed Kudus of West Ham, with Jarrod Bowen potentially being out. I think Kudus is going to be the big danger man for West Ham this weekend away at Burnley. I think the way West Ham play is going to really counteract the way Burnley play. They like to show a lot of space, and I think that will give a lot of space to the attacking talent that West Ham do have. And I think West Ham will win quite comfortably.
He could play up front,
yeah,
potentially.
I think he will, because Antonio's out and also potentially Jarrod Bowen. So he's probably next in line.
They have Ings, but
he's been terrible.
Yeah, he's been really bad. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he plays up front or not.
But that is our Predict the Prem this week. I want to know your predictions. I want to know your star man. I want to know who you think is going to come out on top with the predictions that we have given for this weekend. But thank you everyone for joining to us today, and we'll see you next time.